simulation.
It sometimes amazes me that games did as well as they did back in the day. Like some of these trailers I've seen just, were not very good at, especially for Gran Turismo there. Okay, so some of the better age games to come out during the 32-bit era were definitely racing games, and for good reason. When you're dealing with experimental new technology known as 3D, doing something as simple and easy to understand as a racing game is typically your best bet. However, the racing games weren't really evolving at the time. They were still very much what people would typically call arcade fare. Absurdly fast speeds, very simple controls, physics being thrown just right out the window, all that good stuff. Uh, there was someone working in the game industry, though, who wanted to change that. And his name was, and I'm probably going to butcher this, Kasunori Yamauchi, who was a huge fan of racing, and his dream game was to create the most realistic driving simulator ever, with licensed cars, realistic physics, and real-world tracks. He pitched this idea to his bosses, and unfortunately he was turned down because while the idea honestly was sound, it just would have been too expensive to produce at the time. So instead, Yamauchi was put to work on another racing game called Motortoon Grand Prix, which was basically a little racing game that was trying to compete with Mario Kart. Most developers probably would have turned their nose up at this, like, I don't want to work on this game, I'm not going to put my best effort for it. But he did put his best effort forward, and he actually opted to try some ideas he had for Gran Turismo in Motortoon Grand Prix. So after 2 games in that series, and now having a reputation to his name, Yamauchi pitched Gran Turismo again, and this time he got the green light to do it. They would spend the next couple of years working on the game, and though there were concerns that people wouldn't be interested in a game that emphasizes realism over the top speed, Gran Turismo would go on to become one of the biggest hits the PlayStation brand had ever seen. So there isn't a whole lot of story in Gran Turismo. All you're really doing is just moving your way up a racing league. The main thing that draws you into Gran Turismo is the realism of it, the way of the cars, how you have to work the gears, the brakes, and all that stuff in order to jockey your way around corners while keeping as much speed as possible. Like, it was just miles ahead of anything else that was on the market at the time. And though a lot of people probably thought that it would have been too complex to get into, it really is satisfying to learn how to operate these vehicles to the best of your ability. So, like, the game really does challenge players to get good at, playing the game, as opposed to, the game, being accessible to everyone. It's also supported by some great presentation. I find realistic graphics on the PS1 tend to age very poorly, but some smart moves were made with the original Gran Turismo. For starters, they had the sense not to have any humans appear in the game. You're really just looking at the cars or racetracks, and it's actually rendered pretty well with PS1 hardware. You can tell a lot of time and effort went into rendering and modeling these cars, as well as making the tracks look as realistic as possible. That being said, there are still some shortcomings with it. There is a lot of pop-in, which, in a racing game can lead to a lot of problems. And, the music is also a little strange for the experience, but overall, it is a lot of fun. Some of the progression can also be a little slow too. In order to unlock the different tracks in the game, you have to complete the license challenges in order to be licensed to race in them. And some of these challenges can be just a little too strict, in my opinion. While I do agree that they are necessary to get players up to speed on how to play Gran Turismo, I feel like they could have added just a second or two to, what times you actually need to get in order to pass a test. I don't think there would have been much harm there, but and also you have to spend a lot of time really building up the performance of your car, grinding for money and stuff like that. So it can get a little repetitive. But any issues that the original Gran Turismo had are extremely mute because the game was an enormous hit when it came out, and it would be followed by an incredibly successful line of sequels. As a matter of fact, the Gran Turismo series still stands as the most profitable brand under Sony's banner. So, Ratchet and Clank, Uncharted, The Last of Us, none of them have even come close to the sales that the Gran Turismo series has posted. And it doesn't look like it's going anywhere anytime soon. And also, I've said it once and I'll say it again, Gran Turismo has the best video game adaptation of all time. So, yeah, Gran Turismo, highly recommended, especially to fans of racing sims. Surprisingly still holds up. As Jack Reacher always says, do it once, do it right, and if you gotta do it more, keep doing it right. That's going to do it for Gran Turismo, guys. I hope you guys will join me tomorrow as we continue on with the PlayStation Retrospective.